Hello, welcome back to Oracle DBA tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to discuss about redo and undo concepts. Let's take an example of an update statement. Let's say somebody is giving an submit a uh, update table T and then set say A is equal to 5. So this table T has one column A. So table T, if you select star from table T, it should give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have 5 rows. And then when somebody is saying that update T set A is equal to 5, where A is equal to 1. So this is now let's try to analyze whenever somebody is giving this kind of statement, what is really going on. So this is my SGA, and then I have my database. So let's say this is data file, and this is my online redo, and there are some other things are there, but for this simplicity I'm just going to consider that I just have a data file where the table T's data is stored, and then I have an SGA, I have something called buffer cache. So this is db buffer cache, wherever db buffer cache, and then I have redo buffer. Okay, so whenever this statement is coming, update T set A is equal to 5, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a buffer dirty here. Okay, so that means like this A is equal to 1, the value of A is equal to 1, so it was 1 and I make it 5 now. So when I make it 5, so I make this buffer, db buffer dirty, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to store enough information, okay, enough information on the redo buffer so that I can reproduce this transaction again. Okay, so in this case what's going to happen is that redo buffer is going to contain enough information to redo this update statement. That means to basically update in the buffer cache the value 5. Okay, so it was before it was 1 and then it become 5 because of this update statement. Enough info to redo. Alright, and then what we are also going to do, Oracle is going to see the old value. So the old value in this case was 1. That old value will be also stored in this buffer. Okay, so in the buffer cache we are storing the updated value, and also we are going to store the old value, or we will store some information by which we can basically we can get the old values, or in other words we can ensure that this transaction has never happened. Okay, so how do you ensure that this transaction has never happened? If you make sure that in the dirty buffer instead of 5, if I make it 1, then it is equivalent to this transaction has not happened. So essentially what we are going to store, we are going to store the original value or old value in an area. That area is called undo area. Notice that this undo area is part of the database buffer cache. Okay, so in the db buffer cache we are going to store the new value, that is 5, and also we are going to have the old value, that was 1. And eventually, so this is what is the situation at this update statement, and then somebody else is going to give more update, delete, and all this thing. Eventually this is going to, like this buffer cache is going to filled with different values. And notice that in every 3 seconds, or if somebody give a commit, or if this redo is 1/3 filled, or 1 MB field, whichever is fast, whichever the sooner. In that case, log writer is going to write to the online redo log file. So lgwr is going to come and then going to write from the this thing to redo log file. Then essentially at some point of time, eventually this undo, this data, the database DB buffer cache is going to be also written to the data file. So notice that this 5, okay, this 5 also is going to be written if somebody does a commit here. So that means update set 5, so this become 5 in table. So that means in my table the block will contain 5 now. Then I'm also going to store my undo area in another file. This is one data file, another data file that is called undo file. Okay, so essentially what we're going to do, we are going to store the original data or old data in the undo file. So that means 1 is going to be stored here, and this undo file is a specific, is a size of specific file. It cannot increase up, indefinitely. Rather, this file is going to be reused once this file is filled. Okay, so we'll see like how those things going to help you. So essentially this is the concept of undo, that we undo is there to make sure that we can revert back the transaction. In this case the transaction is update t set a is equal to 5. The net effect of this transaction is to go and update a row which was before 1 and now become 5. Then I need to keep the new values and also I need to keep the old values. And the reason behind keeping the old values is that we can revert back if necessary to the original state. Okay, so this is what is the concept of redo and undo. And the essential difference is redo is that redo can enough information to do the transaction again, and undo is it will contain enough information to revert back the effect of the transaction. So we are going to discuss in this video more on how undo is going to help. Undo is going to help you in 3 scenarios. One, on rollback. Second, undo is going to give you that read consistency result. So by using undo, or this is called multi-versioning database, Oracle provides you read consistency result. And number 3 is going to give you flashback query. So it will allow you to do flashback query. So undo is basically an important components that because of that technology, because of that the flashback query technology is going to happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's take a look at rollback, how it will going to help you in rolling back. Say, let's basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this diagram because I need this diagram in my next thing. I don't want to redo again. Okay, so so whenever you are giving, this update t set a is equal to 5 where a is equal to 1. So this is the update statement you want to do. So now let's say you want to roll back. So when you do this update, so let's say assume that in the previous value was 1 and that become 5, and then old value is stored in this undo segment, also undo area. Okay, now whenever you're doing rolling back, so if you give rollback, what is going to happen is that this from this undo segment, undo information, that is going to come and then replace in 5. So basically, if you look at the buffer cache like this, so this is the dirty buffer which is a new value which is a is equal to 5, and then the other buffer, the one that contains the original value contains right now 1. So what is going to happen in the rollback, we are going to read the undo area and then get and replace that one into 5. So that means this 5 is going to go away, and then so this 5 is no more there, and instead of that we are going to have a 1 here. That 1 is copied from the old location to this buffer. And then, like, if you do the rollback, then next time somebody is going to do flushing the disk, so we are going to flush the disk to the value 1. So this is how a rollback works. And eventually, let's say for example, if this 5 and 1, it may happen that if you are doing a lot of transactions, so in that case it may happen that whenever you want to do a rollback, this old value may not be there here. The old value may be there here in the undo segment, right? So in that case, what you are going to do, you are going to read this value to this buffer cache, and then you are going to copy to the dirty buffer. Okay, so that is how rollback really works. The next one is about a read consistency query. So how it is going to give you read consistency. So let's take an example, our table T. This table T has 200,000 rows. Okay, so it's a very big table, and this table has 200,000 rows. Let's say in one SQL session, so in one SQL session, somebody gives select star from T, and let's say this happened at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. somebody gives select star from T, and then in that case, what is going to happen? The this query is going to basically, so let's say this is your buffer cache and your data files. So this query is basically going to read the table T and then get all the rows to the buffer. So that's how it's going to happen. And then since this is a 200,000 rows, let's say this will take 5 minutes to complete. This query is going to take select star from T is going to take 5 minutes. That means at 7:05 a.m. this query is going to complete. All right, and then assume this data file is going to look like something. I'm just drawing some diagram. So this data file for this table T will have, let's say this is one row, second row, third row, fourth row, like that, right? So what happens is that when this at 7 a.m. when it started, let's say that time the SCN number, the system change number for the database is 1001. Okay, that means, so that is the time when the SCN number was 1001. So that means in all of the data blocks, whenever I'm going to go on and figure out, there will be a SCN number there in the header saying that 1001. Let's say another session, another SQL session is going to give an update. Okay, so update, let's say he gives update table T, set A is equal to 5, where A is equal to, say, the very last row, 199999. Okay, so that means the very last row, this is one block and then maybe another block like this. Okay, so this is the last block, and then somebody has updated this value to something else. Notice that this value is updated, and also this guy does a commit. If he does a commit, a new SCN number is going to be generated, and then in this data block for this row, this row is SCN number is, say, 1002. The next SCN number is 1002. Okay, so if this is how it is going to happen. Now let's say whenever the select star from T is running, and then eventually at this thing's happening at 7:02 a.m. So in the past 2 minutes, somebody has gone and updated. Then the question that will ask, that whenever we started the query at 7 a.m. with SCN number 1001, this value was something different. Okay, and at 7:02 this value has been changed and something different. So whenever we are doing a select, what value should we see? Remember that Oracle provides you read consistency. What does it mean? That means at the time of 7, I need to give whatever the data at that time. Okay, so at 7 a.m. my data used to be the old data. So therefore, I need to give the old value here. So whenever this thing is reading, so now for this query for select star from MP, Oracle is going to read from this, all this, blocks, and then everywhere it will check what is the SCN number, and it will, since the SCN number is 1001 here, all right. So therefore, it will say valid data, valid data, valid data, and valid data. So whenever it is coming to here, it will see that SCN number is 1002, which is happened after this query started. So therefore, it is going to take a detour here. It's not going to read this one. Instead of that, Oracle is going to see what was the value at the time of SCN 1001. And notice that all these things is going to be stored. The old value is going to be stored in the undo segment, right? So essentially, like what we're saying, that undo in undo segment, I'll see the old value. Therefore, what I'm going to do, instead of reading the new value, it will reconstruct the old value from the undo segment. Okay, and then whatever that will get, that is the value to return it back. All right. So therefore, the read consistency things happen because we store the old result. Okay. So that is, and this is how undo segment is going to help to give you a read consistent result. Next things is about flashback query. So this flashback query is a feature that if you say select star from EMP, if I get select star from EMP, I will get the result what is the current data in employee. But is it not a good idea that if I have to know somehow how many employees there in the beginning of the year? That means if I give, is there any way that I can do select star from EMP as of a particular timestamp or particular date? Okay, that is essentially what this flashback query is about. So flashback query is going to give you a result flashed back to a particular time. How is going to be implemented? Again, because who is going to store the old data? The old data is going to be stored in the undo segments, right? So basically, whenever we are doing select star from EMP as of some date, let's say that date is 01/01/2010 or 2011. In that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find out what is the SCN number at that time. Okay, then if I find out what is the SCN number at that time, then I'm going to go and then check my data blocks. Okay, so if I check my data block, if say let's say that SCN number, the current SCN number is 1000, and the SCN number of 01/01/2001, let's say it was 900. All right, so therefore, let's say this is the block 1, and this block 1 has been modified. Let's say this SCN number is here 991, and then let's say another block is there where some data is stored about this employee table, and then let's say that SCN number is 800. Okay, so therefore, whenever I'm going to do a select star from EMP as of this SCN number 900, I'm not going to consider this one. Rather, what is the equivalent block? I'll reconstruct this block with respect to a SCN number of 900. That means I'm going to go to the undo segment and figure out what was the value at the SCN number 900. Then when I see the SCN number 800, okay, this is fine because we want to find out what happened before SCN number 900. So therefore, whatever the results is there, I'm going to take those things. So essentially, the flashback query implementation is done because of by undo segments. By reading the undo segment at proper time, we can always go back and then reconstruct the result as if that was happened at that point of time. So now the comparison between redo and undo. Okay, so what does redo contains? Redo contains enough information to do the transaction again, to do it again. Undo contains enough information to revert back the transaction. Okay, so this is what is a first characteristics. And second characteristics is that redo is going to be stored in the online redo log file, whereas undo is going to store in the undo segment. Okay, so undo segment, as you saw, the undo segment is something different than the data files, and whereas online redo log file is a separate file, which is a what the log writer is going to write. Then why I need redo? The the main purpose of redo is to do instance recovery, and the purpose of undo is to help in rolling back, read consistency, and flashback query. Okay, so this is what is a summarization between redo and undo, and we need both of them. We need both of them to work in a very coordinated way to make the database works.